So it's finance, funding, and cash flow tonight, and we're moving right into it. In your handouts, you got a brand new handout on drill skills. There are up to 40 of them now, and let me encourage you to read those on your own. And also on the second part of that handout, you can go to my YouTube channel and actually listen and watch 30 of the drill skills. People who master those and own them and practice them and make it a part of your way of thinking, I will guarantee you'll have less stress and make more money. So the drill skills are real handy, helpful tools for people to use. You've also got a handout that encourages you to read about negotiating, because negotiating is such an important skill for everyone, and I'd like for you to take advantage of that. Last night we had a seminar on negotiating, but not going to do that tonight, but I did send you the handout so you can be reading up on it and learn more about negotiating. Here we go. It's all about money and where can we find money to start our business and how can we hang on to it. And that's our main subject tonight. And I definitely want to encourage you to know where that helping hand is. There are a lot of helping hands around. At the small business centers are glad to help you. Folks like me that will be glad to coach you and mentor you, will give you some good ideas. But the main helping hand that you're going to find is going to be those two helping hands at the end of your own arms. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because you folks are here tonight. You're trying to figure it out and make the best out of it. And indeed, I'm going to try to give you some tools to put in your hands and to move forward in such a way to help get your business started. If you do want an appointment at the Small Business Center, let me know where you're located, and I'll be glad to help set it up for you. In business, as in life, you know, we don't control the hand that's dealt to us. I said a couple of weeks ago that, you know, sometimes I feel like I can just hear the opportunity knocking out there, and lots of things that I could or might be able to do, but it's just hard to get the door open to let it in. We can hear that opportunity knocking at our door, but figuring out how to make that handle turn and let the opportunities come in sometimes is the real problem. And a lot of that has to do with we just don't have the resources to make it happen. And whether you were born with deep pockets or with no pockets or holes in your pockets like my family was, indeed, we just have to take what we've got, whether it's a full hand, royal straight flush like we're seeing here, or not even a pair. I want to tell you, whatever is in your hand, let's make the best out of it and move forward. I've seen a lot of folks start with almost nothing and come from zero and even come out of bankruptcy and go on to have really good businesses and find good financial security from it. But the facts are, if you're new and wanting to borrow money and you've just got your business started, there's very few grants out there. A grant, we don't say, is money that you get that you don't have to pay back. Pretty much the only grants that are available that I know of in eastern North Carolina now are those that are coming through the COVID relief funds, but those are mainly going to businesses that have been in business for at least 2 years. So if that's your case and your business is struggling, there are some small business loans and grants available that you can talk to your financial advisor, your small business center, or just go online and find out more information about that. And if you're converting the business that used to be related to the tobacco industry over to something else, there's some loans and special grants available to those folks as well. Or if you're going to start a nonprofit type organization where you're trying to help other people, there might be some grants available. But for the rest of us that are operating for-profit businesses, we don't get some money, we don't have to borrow it or raise it ourselves or save it or make it. And that's the gist of the main thing we're going to talk about tonight in taking a for-profit business and moving forward. To go to the bank and borrow money as a for-profit business is really difficult, and especially if you're a startup. The banker wants to see some history, and if you're a brand new business, you don't have any history. If you're young and don't have a credit history, then that makes it even tougher. So I'll address those issues too. But you know what? I see people every year who start out a little bit and move one step at a time and end up making it. And that's, I'm going to try to give you some secrets and tips that'll help you do that tonight. But if you are going to borrow money, you don't have to be credit worthy. And that is, how does your credit history look? Have you paid your bills in the past? Are you a promising someone? Will a lender look at you as a promising candidate? So that credit worthiness is going to be important. Do you have some down payment? Are you asking the banker or the lender to give you all the money? Well, that's kind of difficult, because if you don't have any what they call skin in the game, it's hard to get them to put their skin in the game unless you've already done it. So I'll be talking to you about some ways that you can show that you're making down payment by different things that you are contributing to your business. Or a strong factor in borrowing money is, do you have collateral to show? Collateral so that if the lender, if your loan goes south, is there going to be some collateral there that the lender might be able to sell and get his or her money back? Used to, if you had $100, you could borrow $100. But now you're going to need $300 collateral to borrow $100. But that's just the way things are. We just have to accept it and move forward. So let's look at some other facts now. What does the lender want you to have? The lender wants you to have a wide vision, a good grasp of all the issues related to your business. That is, they want to see that you've done your homework. Maybe have done some preparations to get yourself ready to sell not only your products, but to sell your business and yourself to the lender. You know, in life and in business, the first thing you have to sell is yourself, and that is getting someone to trust you and believe in you and have confidence in you. And as a new business entrepreneur, sometimes that takes some doing. One way to build confidence and self-assurance is to attend these webinars. Study those 40 drill skills you've got will go a long way, because once you understand and make those a part of your way of thinking, self-confidence is going to be right there for you. So that's why those are so important for you. The business plan will have a lot to do with you being able to borrow money, but not everything. As a matter of fact, it's the last thing that a lender is going to be interested in, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. You don't have to be incorporated. You can operate as a sole proprietor, as an individual, but always your name personally is going to be on the line, whether you're the owner of the company, the president, or a stockholder. If the company is borrowing money, pretty much everybody involved in it that's an owner is going to have to take part in the debt signing as well. When you go to borrow money as a small business person, you'll sign two different places. One is the president of your company or the vice president, and then you'll sign again as an individual. So you're always going to be on the line as an individual when you're borrowing money for your business. Always be connecting the dots. ABCD is an important one of your drill skills, because when you're borrowing money or funding, it's important to always connect the dots and making decisions that make sense. We buy something that helps us make money. And if we don't need a new truck, by golly, we can buy a used truck and make just as much money with it. So connecting the dots to make logical, reasonable decisions is really important. Understanding the risk involved in your business, and there's a risk in every business. There's always Murphys out there with some way to throw a curveball and knock you down. So we will learn risk management tools and learn forecasting about the risk management tools, and then our chances of getting hurt or finding pitfalls or bad mistakes are limited. With forecasting and a good business plan, your chances of borrowing money are a lot better. You want to think about what your business skills are, the skills that you're strong at, and maybe some skills that you're not strong at. And those that you need to enhance, then let's get busy. Start attending these webinars, start studying your drill skills that I share to you, and you will immediately, day by day, start filling your tool belt up in such a way that you can present that confidence that a lender will have more interest in talking to you. And then lastly, let's have a business plan that's comprehensive and a marketing plan that has a budget to it. And when you have this in place and it makes sense, then the lender will have a lot more interest in talking to you about seeing if he or she wants to help you move forward. So where is the cash? Where is it? Where is it locally? Well, in your local area, you'll have some banks that are more likely to be friendly to small business people than others. And your local small business center director, again, they'll have the knowledge to let you know which banks that they would recommend that you talk to. So I like to refer to have you got the blues? You need some more money and it's just got you down. You just can't figure out what to do. So let's have a little fun with this right here. You can always break a piggy bank, right? Well, it'd take a mighty big piggy bank with a lot of nickels and dimes and quarters to start a business. But you know what? Every dollar counts. So sometimes that may be the place that we actually get started and make a determination. Your piggy bank may be a 5-gallon jug. The key is let's try to stay out of debt if we can. Try to stay out of debt if we can and put our money together one step at a time and get started. My Aunt Myrtle used to keep her money in her freezer, and we used to call that her cold cash because she was always squirreling away money in the freezer. And every year during the summer, so she would sponsor a vacation down to Myrtle Beach. But my brother and I would go with her and some other family members, and she pulled out some old $5 bills sometime and smell it, and it smelled like it just came out of the freezer, and she called that her cold cash. Well, maybe y'all know some folks that's got some money in the freezer too, or maybe you do. Folks that lived through the Depression in those years back in the 20s and 30s, they didn't believe in putting money in the bank. So there may be some old money around that's not drawing somebody some interest that you might want to be considered. And then some folks actually put their money out in the yard and buried in mason jars. Reality is, when we started our business, my dad borrowed $3,000 from my Granny Carver down at Hope Mills, North Carolina, and Granny went out in the yard, making sure nobody was watching her, and went to a hole and dug up a mason jar and then dug up another one at another spot, and there was $3,000 in those 2 jars in cash money. She loaned that to my dad, and he started the business with $3,000. Just fast forward now 57 years, it'd probably take $3 million now to do what $3,000 did back then. At any rate, that was what it took. He did it, paid her back, and the business is still going on today. A lot of us may have friends and relatives or live in an area where there are things sitting around. Maybe your uncle's got a barn with lots of stuff that's just being collected, and he's in his 70s or 80s now, and it would really like to see it cleaned up. Or maybe it's just folks that you know that's got items that they'd like to sell. Sometimes if you're going to start a business and you let them know it, they will actually give it to you and let you sell it, or even you sell it on shares. But getting active and thinking about what can I do to turn something that's old and sitting around into cash that I can use and save and then start my business with it is a very reasonable thing to do. I see folks doing this all the time, and I know it works because most of us, depending on the business that you want to start, you can get started for less than $4,000 or $5,000 sometimes. And that kind of money sounds like a world if you don't have any, and I know that because I've been absolutely broke a lot of times in my life. But after you watch this tonight, maybe you'll get another idea on how to approach things. And selling stuff that's sitting around, like old ATVs and old motorcycles and things like that, they will bring good money. And you don't have to be on TV, on those shows like you see folks right here in North Carolina. You put it on Craigslist or eBay. That's the beauty of the internet. You can find a lot of folks that'll pay good money for old stuff that's maybe is given to you that you can sell on halves. So the process may take a year. It may take 2 or 3 years for you to raise that $2,000 or $3,000, but I want you to get started. Now, I gave a program, and a couple of you who's with us tonight were there the other night on businesses you can start with $100 or less. And if you'd have interest in that, I'll be glad to send you the study guides and actually the video of the presentation so that you can watch that and get some real good ideas from it. But I want to tell you, right over in the area of Ahoskie, 15 years ago, when I was first getting started, a couple of the entrepreneurs decided they wanted to start a business, and they actually raised enough money to get their business started just by having food fundraisers, because buying food and is something that families do on Friday and Saturday night. And look, I know this, we all have done this. We go to Wendy's or McDonald's or to Smithfield or any other place, and we go in thinking we're going to spend $5 or $6 for a meal, but we always end up spending around $10 a person, even for our children, it seems like. So you can actually make some really good money, like with spaghetti or with chicken, in putting together a fundraiser to help raise money to get your business started. And one of the great ways to do that is you'll get volunteers to help you. And when folks get interested, you let them know you're ready to start your business. You put a committee together, and folks will actually donate the paper products or donate the chicken or a pig, so that when you actually start doing your plate sale, all the money that's coming in is pretty much all profit and can go in your savings account. I've helped people do fundraisers for over 30 years. Whether it was a cancer drive for someone that was sick, or a death in the family trying to get together funeral money or burial money, or maybe some people just down on their luck or got burned out. There's all kinds of good reasons to help people do fundraisers, and I'm a pretty good organizer, so I would do that right often. And I put together a system, I call it the dozen doers, like 12 people to help you, a dozen people. The dozen doers is a good way to put together a fundraiser. So just think about this. Bring together a group of people that love you and would like to see you succeed. Tell them that you need a fundraiser to help get your business started. And automatically, folks will get excited if you're excited and you're good selling your idea. And what you're going to do is to recruit them to help you bring together a group to raise money to get you started. So if you can get a dozen people, you give each one of them a different title and a different job to do. I don't want you to have one of these jobs. I want you to kind of be the person that circulates around, makes everybody happy. But you give everybody a different job to do, just like it's listed here, and you'll just be amazed at how much folks can do for you with the different jobs, all the way down to the person that's handling the money. Now, I will give you a very special consideration to be careful here. Whoever you got handling your money for you, that's collecting the money, and it's good that you have someone else do it. Make sure you have one or two people. You make sure you get someone you can trust. A little sad story is that we had some great ladies that put together a great fundraiser over in the eastern part of the state. Worked it together with their local church. The church was active in it, brought a lot of people, let them use the facilities. I think it was a 50-50 split between the church and the ladies getting their business money started. And had a real good deal, put together about $5,000 in their pot. But when they started to get ready to start money for the business, they found out that the person that was the chairman had already spent the money on something on them personally. So here's where I got to say, when you're putting together your dozen doers, make sure you got some safety measures in place, or maybe it can go south. I think they eventually got their money back, but it sure messed up some friendships and getting the business started dream, no doubt. In today's world, the truth of the matter is, most of us, to get started, if we don't have deep pockets or something already, a springboard to go from, we're going to find our best friends or our best chance to get some startup money, just like my daddy did, from our family and from our friends. But notice I've got another word up here, fools, because I don't want anybody taking what I'm saying tonight and putting it together to end up borrowing money from your family and friends, and everybody ended up looking like a fool. Let's don't go there, because I know that it can go the other way. What are the key factors to do? If you're going to borrow money from your family or your friends, make sure that you're borrowing just the limited amount that you need in the short term to start making some progress. And when you do borrow the money, make sure you do it with legal document, everything done in such a way that you would do it just like you were working at the bank. Plan to pay interest, a reasonable rate of interest. And let me tell you, folks that's got cash now in the bank are not making hardly anything with interest and haven't for a number of years. So if you're borrowed and you're going to pay a decent amount of interest, it's a good move for them just like it's a good move for you. I want you to know that there is a document that we don't use to document any loans that you do and any collateral that you offer, and that document's called a promissory note. Promissory notes have been around for a long, long time. They go back all the way to before the country even got started all the way over to Europe. It's just a document that lists down all the different aspects of the loan, and that's what you would use when you're borrowing money from a family or friend. Matter of fact, if you go to the bank or borrow money on a car or your house or a television or refrigerator, and you'll sign a loan document. Well, all loan documents are basically some type of promissory note. Promissory means I'm promising. Note means it's a document. So it's a document that you sign to promise to do something. In this case, we're talking about promise to pay money back. You may be loaning money at some point in time, or you may be borrowing money at some point in time. So it's important that you understand the basics of a promissory note if you're going to be in business. It can be handwritten out. That's just as legal as one that's typed out, provided you got all your information in there, and it will go through and it will tell who the two parties are, what their addresses are, what's being borrowed, what is the item that's being purchased, what is the security, that would be the item being purchased, and what is the collateral, that's extra items that you're offering to secure the loan. And it would go ahead and tell about what happens if you don't pay. You don't pay an extra amount of interest or penalties or lawyer fees and this and that. So in your handout is a promissory note. And it's dated 2017. That hasn't changed since 1917, and it wouldn't change if it was 2017. These promissory notes pretty much stay the same. But it goes through, just like I just said, and tells everything about the loan, and maybe there's items here that doesn't apply to what you're doing, or maybe you might need to add some footnotes to make it done. The whole point of this is twofold. One, there needs to be a document, whether you borrow money from a friend or an angel investor or your mama or your uncle or someone else. Make sure that as a business person you document everything. That's for two reasons. One, because an understanding saves a misunderstanding. Two, you want to make sure there's accountability not only for yourself but for the other person. The accountability for you to make payments on time, and the accountability for the lender not to have power over you that you didn't agree to. So that's why this document is so important, because with a promissory note, you can make things really clear. So take a few minutes over the weekend and check that out so you'll have a good understanding. When you're ready to do a document, if you want a fresh one, you can go online and print them off, or you can go to any lawyer's office or any banker's office and they'll have them available to you. But you can do them online and do them free. If you have any questions about what you're doing, I'll be glad to look them over and see if it looks in order. But again, I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, but I can sure tell you some do's and don'ts about these things, and I'll be glad to do that. Once you get it signed, once you agree, you can have 3 or 4 levels of how legal it is. One, you can sign it and your friend can sign it and say, okay, here's our document, here's our contract. Well, that's very true. But just with 2 people signing it and no witnesses involved, then one person could say the other person really didn't sign it, or I didn't sign this, or I had a misunderstanding, I thought I was dealing with someone else. That's where the first level of legality comes if you have a witness. A witness is both signatures. Now, a witness is someone who's not saying that I know all about the document, I know all about the loan, I understand it. That has nothing to do with it. All the witness is doing is saying, I know you, and I know her, and these names that are on these documents are actually the human beings, and I saw them sign it. That way one person or the other can't say that someone else forged their signature. But you could come up in a legal argument and say, well, that witness was his friend or her friend, and she was lying about this. I really didn't do that, but she witnessed my signature, and I didn't sign it. Well, what's your next level of legality then? that would be to have a notary public to witness the signatures. And on some documents, you'll have a regular witness to witness the signatures, and then a notary who will not only notarize the original signatures, but also notarize that she knew the witnesses. So notaries are public servants, get paid a fee. They're officers of the court. And when they notarize something, it steps up the legality of this document to a new level that it will stand up stronger in court, and it would be harder to argue against if someone was trying to get by with something shady. Now, taking the notary thing is pretty good, but now what can you do? Let's say we're dealing with some big bucks here, dealing with some property or some other items, and you just don't want to take any chances. And now I want to say you do not want to take any chances. If it was important enough for you to have a notary decide it, it's probably important enough that you have it perfected. And perfecting your document is saying that I'm going to make sure that that this is recorded at the Register of Deeds office in the county where we did this business, so there's no doubt about it that everyone agreed that this is a perfected document and it's as legal as it can get. And therefore, it'll stand up stronger in court, especially if the deal goes south and you end up having to go to court about not being paid. The key here is that if you are borrowing money on something for the first time, that's one thing, but maybe you're buying something that someone else has already sold to another person, and it's already got a lien on it. In other words, someone went and bought a car, and then they bought it home, and they still owe $10,000 on it, but then they sell it to you, and you buy it, but you don't know that lien is on it. Well, that's where being aware of titles and title searches and clear titles and checking liens at the Register of Deeds office, that's where this comes important. And it's a part of what you need to know if you're going to move into the business world and start buying money or buying property and having collateral, because you need to know if there's any other money owing on it. And the way you find that out is going to the Register of Deeds, because if it is not registered at the Register of Deeds, and that loan is not listed on the title of a vehicle or a trailer, then you can't prove that someone owes you money on it. That's right. It has to be done with a legal document. So just know that. Now, as you move into the business world and you start doing business, you'll learn more and more about this. But remember, just because someone tells you something, you've got a contract, a verbal contract, and maybe you can sign signatures, it's more legal. Then you can get it witnessed to make it more so, and notarized to bump it up again. But the final way to perfect your lien is to carry it to the Register of Deeds and have it registered. Now, if someone has borrowed money on the same thing 2 or 3 times, who's going to get paid if it has to be sold? The date that you registered it is really important, because if you register on January the 1st and someone else on January the 2nd, someone else on January the 3rd, and it's sold at public auction, and the proceeds is only enough to pay off one lien, the one that gets paid off is the first one that signed. Let's say that there's $100 that can be paid towards the lien, and the person that filed on January 1st had a $100 lien on it. They would get that $100. The other 2 people would get nothing. So that's why it's important for you to file at a certain date. But before you make a loan, before you make any payments, you make sure that there's not already a loan existing on what you're thinking about buying. Big cautions here now. If you're going to launch your business and you're looking for someone to help you, a partner, and that is just good to get some, if you don't have any funds to get started and someone has an interest in helping to get your business started, either as a financer or a partner or an investor, make sure you find the right one, because you don't probably be in business or have some financial dealings with these people for a long time. So you make sure that the person that you're talking to has a good history of keeping their promises, especially related to money, and does not have sticky finger problems that will try to take money from you. You want to make sure that if you're looking at someone to help you get started, that you trust them and they got a good background. There's several places that you might find money for a loan in your community. Your local community bank are your best bets. That's the smaller banks that are owned by local people. And then next up the line would be commercial banks. And then there's credit unions. We all heard of credit unions. Well, I need to give you a little information here. You may be a state employee or a military person, and you're a member of a credit union. That's where you're doing your checking or your banking, and maybe bought a car or two there. And so you've got good credit standing with a credit union. But here's the word to the wise. Credit unions by law are not supposed to lend money for business loans. They do money only for personal loans. So if you're planning on helping to get your business started with money that you borrow from the credit union, you do not need to go in there and talk to the loan officer or write down on the application the purpose for this loan is to start a business. Once you say that, that application will not be considered. But if you just simply say that you're going to borrow money to do some improvements or you have some special projects that you're after, they don't really care about how you're going to use the money, but they're going to ask it anyway, but you're better off to give a vague answer than you are to say a small business loan. You'd be better off to say, I'm just going to improve my credit situation. Just be vague about that, because if you put down borrowing money to start a small business, they're going to have to, by law, not loan you the money. A lot of folks will use the credit union to maybe get an equity loan on their home or refinance their car that they got paid off to come up with $2,000 or $3,000 extra dollars to help start the business. In that situation, you would just say, I don't refinance my car to take care of some debts. Just leave it at that. Because the credit unions are really good to work with and a good place to borrow money. Then there's government agencies like the Small Business Association, Administration, and others that you might work with, and a few private organizations that will loan money for entrepreneurs. And then there's individuals, and individuals that borrow money that are not institutions are called angel investors. How about that? That's a good name, isn't it? Well, an angel investor is that are private folks in your community that have a lot of money in the bank. And where do you find angel investors? Well, probably in your community, the best place to find your angel investor, or a list of them, will look at that local bank, look at the board of directors of your local bank. So how do you get on as a member of the director of a local bank? You put a lot of money in there. You become a large depositor, either business or personal funds. And that's how banks choose their directors. So if the directors of the bank have a lot of money in the bank, that means that they know best of all that it's not bringing them much return on investment. But here's the little key here. The directors of a bank usually are members of committees that look over loan applications. So they're aware of things, people in the community that are buying things, buying property, houses, building buildings, starting businesses. And indeed, if you have interest in starting a business and a good plan and a good presentation, that angel investor might loan you the money directly instead of you having to borrow it from the bank. So how do you meet these people? Well, you may not know them, but you can go to any website for a local bank, and somewhere on that website, they're going to tell you who their directors are, and you can actually see the people's names, and then figure out if you know someone that knows them, or maybe you already know them. And then I like to encourage people to go talk to one of those directors. If you don't know them, maybe your minister does, or your principal, or one of your friends, or your mom, or your dad, someone to get a connection, do some networking, so that you can kind of, what I like to say, grease the tracks. Because in life, in business, and in borrowing, the old saying is always true. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So locally, if you can figure out someone that has a position at the bank, and they can put a word in with you with one of the loan officers, then your application will not be on the bottom of the stack. It'll move up through the top of the stack and will receive at least more favorable attention. You may not get the deal, but at least it will be favored more because you had talked to a director about it and asked them to put a word in for you. That's not illegal. That's just good business. Always remember, it's who you know that makes so much difference sometimes. Keep in mind that the angel investors, if they do loan you money, may want a piece of your business. That is some stock. You ever watch Shark Tank on TV? It's a good example. Those folks will loan them money and do this and that for them, but they're always after getting a piece of the action, wanting to own some stock. Well, that's where the devil is always in the details, because I want to encourage you to work with angel investors, but I want to discourage you unless there is a really good reason that you need their expertise or you need them owning some stock, or you just can't get started without that money. You've got to be careful with who you share stock with in your business. You're better off just to borrow the money from them and use a promissory note instead of selling stock, because if you sell stock, you're going to have the promissory note too, but you're going to give up some control of your business and long-term interest. I suggest that you pay a higher interest rate and not give away any stock for the investment they're making. Now, there's a difference in an investor and a partner. An investor is going to give you money to get your business started and expect to be paid back at a certain date and a certain amount of money. Where a partner is going to help you get started, and by being a partner, if the business does well, they do well. But if the business goes flat or loses money, then they're going to go flat or lose money. A major difference in the two. If you're after someone to help you do the work and guide you and actually bring in some skills or things to the business that you really need, then maybe that partner is just fine. But if you don't need that and you just want money, just remember, these are two totally different types of investors. And you want to make sure you're not going somewhere where you didn't want to end up. The important number to share with you is 51%. And that is if you own 51% of the stock in your business. And stock is a intangible term here. Of course, you could have stock certificates, and you will if you get incorporated. But we're talking about control. Who has control of the business? And 51% of the stock is the person that has control. 50% is neutral. 49% is the wrong side. So if you're bringing in other people in the business, you want to really try to remember to maintain 51% ownership. If you have, you bring some folks in, let's say 3 other people, and you give each one of them 20% stock for them in the business if they ought to invest in it. So 3 people got 20%, that still leaves you 40%. Well, 40%, that means you got twice as much stock as any one of the other 3, right? That's right. But if those 3 get together and decide to boot you out, 20 equals 60% to your 40%, and you're out of here. So just remember, if you're going to bring on people to invest in your business in some way, that is one of the best ways to get started now. I'm telling you, if other people will get involved with you, that means you've probably got instant folks that are going to support and hope the business does well. But you don't have to do it from the standpoint of selling stock. You're better off to do it from the standpoint of just taking their money as an investor and use a promissory note. Here's some really good news that a lot of folks don't know. Depending on the business you're started, if your business is mainly going to depend on a big ticket item to get you moving, like a truck, like you don't need a transfer truck, or a backhoe, like you want to get an excavation business, or maybe in the mowing business, you want to start a mowing company. Those kind of things, the most expensive thing you got to buy is that equipment, right? The good news is that most companies like mine that sell big ticket items like that, we have our own finance companies or finance arrangements that we can work. Like if you go to a Chevrolet dealership, they got GMAC financing, or the Ford Motor Credit at the Ford dealerships. or at the tractor place, Kubota Credit has their own financing arm. So there's a good chance that you won't have to go there and borrow all the money from the bank. At the bank, you're going to borrow all the money, right? And use yourself as collateral, but in security. But when you're buying from the vendor, the tractor or the truck or the backhoe that you're buying becomes the security and becomes the collateral. So that is a good thing for you. Next, what you have to come up with then is a reasonable down payment. And I need to tell you now, you need to make those down payments. A good slick salesman will say, hey, you can get right into this and I can finance this and your payment won't be but $100 a month. But they forget to tell you that you're going to have to pay on it for 120 months. When actually what you're buying is not going to last but about 3 or 4 years before it starts costing you money. So when you're borrowing money for an item, you don't want to borrow money on it for any longer than it's going to be working for you without costing you money. So sometimes that encourages us to buy used, and sometimes that encourages us to pay more down payment. Because I'm saying to you, as many people have asked me, Steve, should I wait till I have enough money to get my business started and pay for everything cash? I'll say, well, probably not, because if you're like me, if you had to wait till you had all the cash to pay for it up front, you'd never been able to start your business. So sometimes we have to borrow money. But I want you always to remember, when you're borrowing money on something, make it sure it's going to be paying for itself. That's where connecting the dots plays in. Borrowing money on something that's going to be bringing in the payment and the service and the fuel that it's going to cost you and leave you some extra profit at the end to run your business and put towards everything other things, that's a good investment. But if you're just buying because it looks good or it feels good at the time or you think it may be okay, let's back off of it. Buy something for less money, buy used, or don't buy at all. Rent if that's what you need to do. Be careful with going into debt. Now, another part of this is do not get upside down on any debt that you have. Upside down means you owe more on something than it's worth. You owe more on it than the fair market value is. And like a new truck or a new car or a new tractor, the very minute you drive it off the lot and it becomes used, well, then it takes a 15 or 20% hit in value. That means that you need to be making at least a 15 or 20% down payment so that when you drive off the lot, you're not going to be upside down with your product. Upside down gets you in big trouble because that means if things get tough in business for whatever reason may come along, and they will, there's always a curveball sometime, the items that you have borrowed on, if you're not upside down on them, that means you've got equity in them. There's not so much owing on them that if you would sell them, you wouldn't have some left over after you paid off the debt. And that having some left over is a really important thing. And that says to me and to other lenders, yeah, you've got debt. Yes, you're making monthly payments. Yes, you've accumulated several items that you're making monthly payments on. But on each and every one of those, you've got good equity in them. And then I know that if things get tough, you can sell them and end up with some money that you can spend to start it over again or pay off some other debts if you need to. Having debt is not a bad thing provided you're not upside down. That's the good news. And some folks are just really afraid of debt, and you should be. But risk management will tell you, if you're not upside down and you got good equity in whatever you owe money on, that's a very positive thing. You've got an asset that you can turn into more assets. Plan to make it work. Always have a plan to create cash, to create money. And sometimes getting into the business, whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, one way to create cash flow is to do pre-sales. That is, you got a good business idea and you want to start your business. Well, go out and find customers now. Make sure you know what you're talking about, and you can convince them to go ahead and invest and give you money now to help you get your business started. And you will deliver to them, promise to deliver to them at a certain date, what they're buying, and they're getting it at a good discount in such a way to give you some money to help getting started. That's kind of like a farmer that wants to get started and plant his crop. He goes to a lender and borrows money for the fertilizer and the seed and all like that, and they go ahead and give him the money for it, but he makes a promise that when the crop comes in, he will give them a percentage of what comes in, and they sell it, and they'll split what comes in at the time, or he will guarantee them a certain number of bushels of this or some of the products. Pre-selling, obligating yourself in advance for something that's going to happen in the future for money that's given to you now. One of the keys to this is that you're almost always going to have a strong trustworthiness or some really good collateral, because all this needs to be documented on a promissory note. Okay? After you get opened up, large or small, what is the thing that we're going to be worrying about every day? Every day we need to keep a constant radar up for how is our cash flow working. Have we got more money coming in than we've got going out? Are there some surprises down the road I need to get prepared for? Do I have a credit line or some reserve money that if something comes along, surprises me, I can get over it? So cash flow has always got to be on your mind. And we do some good webinars on how to show you how to keep your cash flow going. Adding profit centers, that is, in your business, you always want to be adding products that will increase sales, daily sales, repeat sales, and some big ticket items. So that's called connecting the dots again. ABCD is figuring out what additional items or services that you can add to help grow your business. Growing the business is important. A business never sits still. It's kind of like if you're in the river and you're floating down the river, then you're headed out in the ocean. You're headed the wrong way, especially if the money and the profits are the other way. You always need to have your business heading in a direction and never just floating. If it's floating, you're in trouble, and you need to forecast where you're going to end up and make the changes that you have to make. Be ready to fight crises before they get too big. Don't let things mushroom on you and get too large. A little problem can turn into a big problem in a hurry. So sometimes we feel like that deer standing in the road looking at the headlights, can't figure out what to do. That don't work as an entrepreneur. You have to be willing, able, have your gloves on, and ready to fight crisis with a lot of energy, with a lot of stamina. Let's talk about 7 honest ways that you can start raising some cash. First of all, you got to remember that in business, we can have cash flow bottlenecks. That is, we're doing things on our own that's keeping our money from coming in. And we have to be constantly watching out for that. Now, if you had never been in business before, you wouldn't know this. That's why it's important that we talk about it now. It's not how large an inventory of products that you have that counts. Is do you have an inventory that you can turn over very quickly? Because you don't make any profit till you actually make a sale. Having a large inventory that's not selling is the exact opposite of making profit, because you got your money tied up over here and it's not making money for you. So the key word that we use is turns. T-U-R-N-S, turns, short for turnovers. Let's have some thinking about that as you're thinking about getting your business started. How many turnovers are you going to need with the products you're selling to be profitable? It's a lot wiser to have a smaller inventory that's turning on a regular basis than it is to have a whole large warehouse full of items that are not turning. If you've got that full warehouse of items that are not turning, then it's better to liquidate them and sell them at a loss to create some cash to put into things that will be turning. It's just part of doing business. And it hurts sometimes to sell stuff for less than you paid for it, but it's more important to do it than it is to look at it. If you are going to be in business and do account business, in other words, do business on credit with other people, let's think about that. You're not a banker. I'm not a banker. Doing credit business is something the bankers do. If there's any way for you to avoid doing credit business, you do it. But if the nature of your business says I need to do it, make sure that you are handling the accounts right. If you have some questions about that, depending on what type of business you're on, I'll be glad to try to help you with that. But never let your money stay out there too long. You collect your past due accounts with great haste and energy. Why? You're afraid you're going to make somebody mad? Let me tell you, the people that owe you money are not going to keep doing business with you. No, the only way you're going to have that customer keep doing business with you is for that account to be clear. So never let it get too large, or you will never see the customer again and end up with a bad taste with them, especially if you have to sue them. Plug up any holes that you have. If you're charging, plug up any holes that you have in your system. One of the big examples of you, and some of you may be getting into the trucking business or the contracting business, where that you're going to provide the service before you get paid. And especially if you don't have a system in place to make sure you're going to get your money, you will not get your money, because there are folks out there that are ready to take advantage of your poor business skills. Matter of fact, they consider it a good business skill on their part if they can take advantage of you and your poor business skills. That's the way some businesses make lots and lots of money, just by using other people's money. So you have to be aware of that. Collect your money. Be ready to do credit card business. Be ready to say, if we're going to do business, as we talked about in the negotiating class last night, you're going to need to pay in advance if you want it at this price. Or if we're going to do business at all, I need a good document here that gives me protection, make sure I'm going to get paid. That's just plain business. It's not you don't trust somebody. It's just you want to put the documents in place to make sure you can trust them. When it comes to cash flowing, you want to eliminate any obvious waste that you have, or if you've got people that you're hiring on staff that aren't making you money, you need to surgically cut them out of your business. You want to stretch your dollars as long as you can, as far as you can, cut the costs that need to be cut, be true to yourself here. And that magic act, one I like to refer to and already have earlier tonight, the magic act is when you can turn old assets into new dollars, when you can turn junk that's laying around or assets or items that other people look at as trash, and you can turn them into treasure and create dollars to pay your bills and keep moving. And then there's creative refinancing. What is a creative refinance? Let's say that you have well, I'll use myself as an example. I used to have lots and lots of rental forklift trucks, and they would last for 10 or 15 years, and I would usually finance them for 3 years at a time. So after 3 years, I would have a unit that was paid off that was still worth $12,000 to $20,000. And if I got in a cash flow crunch, sometimes I would use those used forklifts. I'd refinance them, get some cash to operate with, because they were rentals. They were still paying for themselves as they went along. So lots of times, if you have assets that you are refinancing, it's a good way to sometimes to build up some cash if you have a cash flow issue, short term, that is. If your business is established and been around for a while, and you've got a good customer base, to improve cash flow, sometimes the very best and fastest thing you can do is bring in something new that you can start selling to your established customers. So many businesses fail to bring in new products so they can have upsells. And an upsell is an item that when you sell a customer one thing, you can automatically say, and by the way, I've also got this or I've got that, and they're happy to buy it from you because they're already used to doing business with you. If you're not adding the profit centers to your business, you may be limiting your cash flow by 80 or 90%. It's just incredible what upsells can do for you. And then there's the raving fan customers. That's those loyal customers that have been with you for a long time, or that will be with you thick and thin. If you've got those people and you are in a cash flow crunch, then you need to reach out to those loyal customers and let them know that, hey, I need some business. I got something special going on. Whatever it is you need, let's talk about it. You reach out to them and ask them whatever, and maybe you can get some advanced sales from them. Maybe you can give them some special deals on something so that you can make some quick sales and create some cash flow for yourself. Your raving fan customers, the folks that want you to stay in business, want other people to do business with you, lots of times will have that lifeline that you need when the storms get rough, when the sea gets rough. Raving fan customers will be there for you. But you have to reach out to them and let them know. Credit lines or savings accounts are really important in today's world, because sometimes the very best deals that you can get require you to pay for them, to have some cash. Something comes along here, but I don't have to take advantage of it now. And therefore, you will need a credit line, a borrowing line, several credit cards. I hate now to say credit cards so much, but in small business today, companies like Wells Fargo and American Express are offering some really good credit line opportunities for entrepreneur businesses. The interest rates are not all that bad unless you get behind on your payments. But to have the ability to take advantage of a good deal. You know, in business, if you can't buy right, you can't sell right. That is, you need to be able to buy it low so you'll have the very best price when you're selling to someone else, or you can increase your margins up enough to end up with some good money. Now, last night in our webinar, we talked about folks selling pumpkins and just showed that someone that was spending $10,000 on pumpkins might have a return on investment of $40,000 if it's managed right. And of course, that's an example. That's just figures out of the air. But there's a lot of things that can be done. If you buy right and plan right and have the right contacts, you can do it. And sometimes that opportunity to get in the game means you got to come up with some cash right now or some credit. So I want to encourage you to have some credit lines, to have some credit cards, and use them, keep them active. That is, borrow a little bit of money every now and then and pay it right back the same month or the first due date. That is, don't max them out. Don't use them until you really got a good reason to make money. You use your credit lines to make money, not to bail you out of tough situations. Use your credit lines for positive opportunities and not to bail you out of tough situations. Sometimes we just have to go back on that rule. I know in an emergency, but credit lines are not to be established to bail you out. Credit lines should be established to take advantage of good opportunities. And then those opportunities will keep you out of trouble and jams. As I said earlier, if you don't go to the local bank, talk to the president, the vice president, member of the board of directors before ever seeing the loan officer. Kind of a standing rule I've used with entrepreneurs helping them through the years is that, yeah, we're going to end up seeing that loan officer, but before we get there, someone will already have put a bug in his ear that we certainly would appreciate you helping out Steve in this situation. He's got a good opportunity. Let's work for it. By doing that, you're 50% along the way for a more favorable outcome. The loan officers are the lowest person on the totem pole in a bank. Okay? They basically look up to everybody else, and they're always playing CYA. Now, what does that stand for? Cover my ass. So the loan officer is not going to move anybody forward that he thinks will go south on a debt and make him end up losing his job, him or her lose their job. But if someone else in the bank, they know they're friends with the person that's giving the application, and they maybe put a word in for you, it takes the pressure off that loan officer not to be so critical for you. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I don't want you to pay off any long-term debts with short-term cash flow money. So this is I know that most of us entrepreneurs really hate to be in debt and hate monthly payments, but we also have to buy some assets and have monthly payments. And if we have a few good months and we build up some cash in the bank, it's really tempting to let's go pay off some debts and cut down on our interest payments. It's really tempting to do that. I got to say to you, don't do it. You're better off to take any excess money you've got, put it over in a savings account, and let it sit there so that when you have an opportunity to take advantage of a good deal, you can do it. or if you have an unexpected expense, you can pay it off. But if you keep strapping your cash flow by paying off debts before they're due, you're going to end up one day with no money in the bank to handle your short-term debts. Your power bill, your labor bills, your employee costs. If you're trying to do everything you can to pay off debt early instead of let these things you borrowed pay for themselves, you'll end up in a jam. It'll put you out of business, actually. In order to postpone early payments causing cash flow stress, pay your interest as forward when you borrow the money from the bank. Sometimes you can get a bill in that you owe money on and you can't pay it all off. At least pay off some of it right now, or I'm saying pay off, but pay some of it now before the due date, and then you contact your lender and let him know that you're paying this and you'll pay the rest of it within a certain number of days. The key is don't make the lender have to call you. If you see you're going to be late on a partial payment, you let them know up first. Now, people that's used to loaning money to businesses will appreciate the fact that a business owner will call them and say, I'm going to be a little late this month. I'm going to make a partial payment. The rest of it's coming. I'll be glad to pay the interest charges, whatever they are. That is a good phone call to make. Even though it's bad news, it's still a good phone call to make, because folks that are in business know that these things happen. There's always cycles in business that make things happen. So as long as you've got a good communication link with your lender, they will work with you. But if you go silent and run and make them have to chase you, it's going to end up in a bad way. Not only will they cut you off, they'll sue you, and then you have a bad reputation in the credit world, and you won't be able to go forward with your business. How can you avoid that? Is be honest and talk to them up front. Sometimes you can borrow money and set a balloon payment up where you make a payment in 12 months instead of having to make monthly payments, but make your payment in 12 months. That gives you some breathing room for your cash flow. And sometimes when you do that, it's a good idea to go ahead and pay the interest on that loan up front. The lenders really like that. That's, for example, you needed to borrow $100, so you go get the $100. The interest was 10%, or in other words, $10 a year. So when you go get that $100, you just automatically go ahead and give them $10 to pay the interest. They like that. And therefore, when it's time for you to pay the money back, you pay the $110 and everything's good. Okay? This represents cash flow. In our mindset, we always want to have this picture in our mind that we want our cash flow to be going up. Even though this is a red arrow, I would have rather it been black, but it's red. But we want our cash flowing going up, our network going up. And that's what every business wants, of course, in the whole world, right? When that trend is going the other way, we have to get active. And let me tell you, it will go the other way from time to time. Right now, even though the business economy in America is burning and booming and inflation's in place, and inflation means that people have got more money to spend than there are products out here. Therefore, that's what makes the prices go up. But here comes one of those Murphy curveballs that's got Vic and Ward that's going on. It's got gas prices going up. And a lot of businesses like mine know that when gas prices go up, people who are buying things they have to buy things they have to have. And gas is one of them. When you're in a business like mine, I sell stuff that people don't really have to have. And people buy my stuff with their extra money. So as gas prices start going up, people are going to say, well, I might not have any extra money, therefore I'm not going to buy stuff from Steve. Therefore, I know that my era may be headed going down this month and until the gas prices level off. So what do? Do I just close up and put my 10 in the house? No. I figure out what profit centers I have that people have to use. So in my business, it's parts. If they're not buying new stuff, that means they're using their old stuff, and it'll break down. They'll need more parts for it. So I need to focus my marketing and attention on the parts business, so that knowing now that by forecasting, they're probably not going to be buying new stuff. I want them to buy their parts from me. By the way, parts have a better markup on them than new implements do anyway. Now, what does that mean for you? We always in business, to protect our cash flow and funding, need to think about what are we doing that people have to have, what people need versus what they want. And we need to have a good mix of those type of items in what we're asking for, what we're offering. So in times like this, when gas prices start soaring, we need to have some products of what people need that they're going to buy, whether it's good times or not bad times. And the more of those type of items we have, the better off our business is going to be. So you're thinking about that. You're forecasting what the economy is doing versus what your particular business needs are. Now, COVID is still here, but it's going away fast. And this past 2 weeks, we hadn't heard a lot about it other than masks going away. So what are jumpstart things we can do to reboot after COVID? And all of us are having to deal with this now. First thing, as we said earlier, is add more profit centers. If you're in the salon business, like where I took these pictures, and you're not marketing makeup or beauty products or maybe some leather or maybe some costume jewelry, think about things that you can add that'll cost you very little initial investment that should start turning over and making you profit immediately. The good thing about these type of items, they're non-perishable. So you can purchase them now and you can take a while to sell them. It's not like they're no wear out. Maybe turn a hobby into a business. A lot of different things you might do, from knitting to tile work to raising vegetables. If you're going to be doing vegetables, it's time to think about planting them. It's March. Doing different types of ceramics or woodwork. If you're teaching, maybe turn your teaching skills into coaching, like Lily Williams is doing a good job of that over in Kinston. Or Janice in Kinston is also, she took her hobby of making wreaths and got a good little business set up on the internet now. Sells lots and lots of wreaths, makes some extra money from her hobby. Folks all over the state, especially over in Montgomery County, where they do a lot of pottery work, create a lot of extra business with their hobbies. Maybe it's candle making or lotion making, like some of my clients down in Whiteville. And if you're into pets or you got a way to make some extra money with pets to build your business, then that may be the way that you do it. Lots of things that you can do, from grooming and walking and making special products. I have some customers now in Clinton that raise eggs. Happy chickens make happy eggs, and they have people just waiting for them. Folks that you promote your business, will look forward to getting that 2 or 3 dozen eggs from you a month, or a dozen eggs every week. Then you basically build a business around it and grow it one step at a time for very, very little initial investment. Over in Seven Springs area, a gentleman over there takes his chainsaws and makes figurines and sells those. So it's a good way in these times to take your hobbies and turn them into money. A lot of folks are raising bees now. That's a touchy subject, but just be surprised with the good money you make in the markets today with honey. The COVID situation has really enhanced the honey business because it has certain medicinal properties to it. So that might have an interest that you do. Maybe you just want to buy products and put your name on it. There's several companies that will make different food products, really good recipes, and then you're able to put your name on it and sell it as your product and double and triple your money. If you've got a small business, a lot of places have taken this idea and filled their shelves up with private label items and enhanced their profits really a lot with folks coming in. Maybe it's time to start a lawn mowing business. Everybody has an interest in finding someone to give them good lawn service. Maybe it's take the exercising that you like to do and turn it into a exercise business, have groups to come and exercise with you. Or maybe different lifestyle changes, such as promoting healthy diets. This is a very popular thing to do. Again, more and more people are interested in farmers markets or buying locally grown fruits and vegetables, setting up stands in your own yard or out in corners, in the back of your truck. Folks are turning in a lot of cash doing this, and it's a good thing to do. Now, some people that have a business or a storefront, I don't use the truckload sale that we see at a lot of mattress sales. The jumpstart your business now, you might look finding a manufacturer that makes items that will provide you a truckload of them or a large group of them on credit. Give you a few months to sell them. As you sell them, you pay them off and keep the profit. Lots of manufacturers and distributors, depending on what type of business you're in, will help your business get jump started and create some good cash flow by doing this. Why? Because they need it too. They got big inventories in their warehouse that's not making money. Why not put it out and let their dealers have a chance to do some good things with it? We don't have to have monthly promotions. So maybe some of you are just thinking about getting started in business. I want to say to you that you're going to need your targeted customer groups. Put those names in a database so you can stay in touch with them and let them know the different things that you're selling. A good promotion campaign has everything to do with the cash flow in your business. You just have to keep promoting to keep the cash flow coming in. Not across the board to everyone. That'll cost you a fortune. What we want to do is to target the right customer groups and take this little bit of money we've got from marketing and advertising and send it to the particular people who have the best chance of buying from us. Targeting the right customers will help you create more business with less advertising money. If you've got an established business, you've got some regular customers now, several of you have businesses that are with us tonight, just think about this. If every customer you have, if you could get them to come to your business and make a purchase one more time per month, just come back in the store. If they're coming once a month, if you can get them to come twice a month, then your annual revenue will go up 12% automatically. Yeah, just having the profit centers or encouraging them to make the appointments, or you have something for them to buy to bring them back in, you can automatically see your cash flow going up. So again, think in these are times that you think about what can you be doing, what can you add for things people need, not necessarily what they want, but things people need. Can you add that into your store as a profit center to help increase the traffic flow? Let's think about this. When you go to Food Lion or your local grocery store, wherever you like, and we go in there because we need milk and orange juice and bread and eggs, right? And cheese. And pretty much every store that you'll go into, a food store, to find that milk, orange juice, eggs, and bacon, you don't have to walk all the way back to the back of the store. All the way back to an odd corner. In other words, you can't get to that stuff until you walk past everything else. Now, what's the logic in a food store doing that? Well, the logic is we're going to put the stuff that people need daily, the things they need, we're going to put them back at the back of the store. So the folks that are coming in to get the stuff they need are going to have to walk past all this other stuff that they want. And I don't know how it works for you, but with me, I am always going to pick up something else that I want when I'm going to get something I need. That's human nature. And for cash flow, we need to think that way, because if we can get someone that's coming in our place or doing business with us for something they need, if we can offer them something they want while they're there, we're going to double our profit. That's the way business works. The more times we can say to a customer, and by the way, we've also got this, in other words, always be connecting the dots, the more times we can make an upsell, the better off we're going to be able to upsell and make more money with everything we're doing in the business. Now, maybe what you're doing is a good thing, but you're in a fixed position. You're either at home or you're just on the internet. Maybe what you're doing, if you could figure out a way to go mobile with it, you could really reach out to more people. Now, going mobile can be really tricky because we're talking about a vehicle and more expenses and such as that, and I know that. But also going mobile may be putting your business at the spot where the people are. And you're the only one there, therefore you don't get the lion's share of the business, whether it's a food truck or a snow cone truck or maybe vegetables or foods or fashions, whatever it is. If you can figure out a way to put yourself and your products where the people are at the least amount of money, and sometimes that's going mobile, then that's going to give you a really good chance to bring in a lot more cash flow. I'll be glad to discuss that with you. If you want to send me an email and tell me what your ideas are, if I can give you some feedback to help you, I'll be glad to do it. So let's bring it home now and just kind of close it up. Today, don't ever think that everything is just fine. We need to stay on our toes. We need to know that it's perfectly fine to ask other people for help and other people for advice. As a matter of fact, it is the right thing to do. You don't need to try to reinvent the wheel right by yourself. There's a lot of people that will talk to you and maybe give you the ideas that'll help you move forward. We've got to keep our radar on and look for what's new. What are people thinking about doing now that's new in the market so that you can be there first? A lot of folks wait till a fad comes in and it looks like it's a great thing, and by the time you get around to adding it, it's old news and never does well. The key for being on top of things is getting something that's new and hot and researching it so you're not taking many risks, and then having some cash reserves that you can take advantage of the opportunity and move forward with it. If we want something different to happen in our lives, then we're probably going to have to do something different, right? So all the distractions or all the obligations we got that's keeping us locked in and won't let us move to do this or that or to set new priorities, we're going to have to revisit those. I don't want you to turn your back on anything important, but I'm going to tell you that if you want to do things different in your life tomorrow, you probably don't need to make some priorities different. Those priorities, if they are helping you maintain high standards, are good. Don't let changing your high priorities make you lower yourself with your character, okay? Always be the best person we can be. If we're being the best people we can be, we're going to be the best business people we can be. If we help others and let our candle light shine, not only will we light the way for ourselves, but we'll help other people along their dark paths too. That warmth from that candle, like in today, feels mighty good to folks, and they will remember that. So funding and financing and cash flow, it always comes back to how you react with people and making people feel good about doing business with you. When you have that happening, you can't be all things to all people. You have to be everything to some people. And when you do that, they will become your raving fan customers. Now, new folks really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when that comes about, when they know that you care and you're letting your candle light shine for them, you will indeed have a better chance to do more business. So I want to encourage you to go that way. Smile. Let folks know that you're encouraged to do this. And, of course, I want to help you any way that we can. It's amazing how many folks ask for study guides and say that it works for us. Because if you're believing in yourself, then I don't tell you, yes, you can do it. And just go for that. Don't hesitate to go the extra mile, okay? I'll give you just a moment.